What is an EIN? This is a very common acronym that floats around in the business world. A lot of people think only big businesses need an EIN, and that's not always the case. So what I want us to address in this video is what is an EIN, who needs one, who doesn't need one, how do you obtain it, and a few other things to keep in mind. So an EIN is short for Employer Identification Number. It is a 9-digit number that is issued by the IRS to identify businesses for federal tax purposes. So think of it like this. You as an individual have a social security number that identifies you. The business has an EIN that identifies it. So think of it as the EIN is a social security number for the business. Now, in terms of who is required to have an EIN, it really is in the name of the word, right? Employer identification number. So employer meaning you're employing someone. So if you're dealing with anything surrounding employment, payroll, you're going to need an EIN. Outside of that, if you are a partnership, if you are a C corporation, your taxes an S corporation, you need an EIN, or if you're certain other types of business entities like an estate or a trust. All right. Now, generally LLCs, as you have those, you do want to have an EIN with it, especially if you are going to have 2 or more members, right? Because once you have 2 or more members in an LLC, you're considered to be a multi-member LLC. And when you are a multi-member LLC, you are taxed as a partnership to start unless you elect to be taxed otherwise. Okay. Now, for the folks who don't need an EIN, those are going to be your individual who has nothing to do with employment, right? They're not hiring anyone, they're not doing anything with payroll, they're just kind of doing their thing, whatever. However, that's who don't need one. However, there are some sole proprietors who decide, you know what, I still want to get an EIN, and it's for these specific reasons. Sometimes it could be they want to obtain a bank account, right? A business bank account. They want to start building credit. They want to look a little, professional, or they want to protect their social security number. So remember, when you're a sole prop, it's your social security number that is there identifying you. Whereas when you have that EIN, that now begins to identify you. So that EIN kind of protects that social security number if that's what you're using, right? So since we've now covered this, the next piece is how do you obtain an EIN? Fortunately, it's free. Unless you hire someone to do it or you go through a third-party website, it's generally free. You just go directly through the IRS's website. So that's irs.gov. And once you get there, type in the search engine to the upper right-hand corner of the screen, EIN, and it's going to take you to an electronic form. You can also fax it or mail it into the IRS, but doing it online is going to be the fastest and easiest way to go. All right. So once you get online and you're doing it, you just kind of go through the process. Now, I must caution you, if you are not 100% confident, if you have some level of uncertainty, don't go at it alone. Call in a professional to help guide you, because this is one of those places or things that you don't want to make a mistake on, right? And finally, something to keep in mind, when you go to obtain that EIN, if you're doing it on your own, ensure that you've established what your structure will be. When I say structure, I mean your business entity. Will it be a corporation? Will it be a partnership? Will it be an LLC? What is the entity structure? Because the entity is directly tied to what that EIN is going to come out to be, right? So they're intertwined, they're not separated, so you have to keep them connected. So you establish your entity first, and then you move on to obtaining your EIN. All right, so that concludes it for today's video. What is an EIN? Who needs one? Who doesn't need one? And how do you obtain one? My name is Rose Brown, also known as the Accountant Therapist, and I'll see you in the next video.